I'm Kelsey Carl.
Priest is now apologizing for comments he made about the Muslim faith during a service in Lonsdale. Fox 9's Sarah Danek joining us now. And Sarah, the Council on American Islamic Relations in Minnesota is calling on Catholic Church leaders to speak up about this.
Yes, that's right. And they have today. Both the priest who made the comments and Archbishop Hebda are responding to the controversial homily, saying it's not in line with the Catholic Church's teaching on Islam. It's calm and quiet tonight outside of Church of the Immaculate Conception in Lonsdale. But what happened inside these doors during a recent Sunday homily has some incredibly upset.
Extremely disappointed.
Jailani Hussein, executive director of CAIR Minnesota, is speaking out after audio of that Sunday sermon was shared on a blog and picked up steam online, specifically for the priest's views on Muslims.
More specifically, we should not be allowing large numbers of Muslims asylum or immigration into our country. Islam is the greatest threat in the world, both to Christianity and to America.
Father Nick Vandenbroeke is the pastor of the church and made his remarks on January 5th, observed as Immigration Day by Minnesota bishops. And while the homily started off with an inclusive message,
it is an important moment for Minnesota Catholics to show their commitment to welcoming migrants and refugees in our communities.
It took a turn against the Islam faith about 10 minutes in.
Of course, there are peaceful Muslims, absolutely. But the religion as a religion and as an ideology and worldview, it is contrary to Christ and to America.
Others see those words as a big step back in building interfaith relationships.
I think there are real consequences to these types of behavior, and I hope someone who listened to that does not become more radicalized, where they now see Muslims as a threat, where they become a threat to Muslims.
Tonight, an apology from Father Vandenbroeke, who released this statement saying, quote, "My homily on immigration contained words that were hurtful to Muslims. I'm sorry for this. I realize now that my comments were not fully reflective of the Catholic Church's teaching on Islam." And tonight, Archbishop Bernard Hebda released a statement too, saying, quote, "I have spoken with Father Vandenbroeke about his homily on immigration, and he has expressed sorrow for his words and an openness to see more clearly the Church's position on our relationship with Islam." And Archbishop Hebda also spoke about the call from the Pope to build dialogue and relationships between Christians and Muslims around the world, saying he is committed to strengthening those relationships here in Minnesota. Randy and Kelsey.
All right, Sarah, thank you.
It is hardly surprising that CAIR would object to someone telling hard truths about Islam in America. But why go on TV about it? Why not discuss this in private? They don't have contacts within the Christian community? CAIR's Minnesota office is located in a church. Christians and Americans in general have been very generous in forbearing with Muslims and with CAIR in particular. But CAIR does not repay this hospitality in kind. Just days before the Vandenbroeke story aired, CAIR successfully and unnecessarily gouged the taxpayers of Minnesota for $170,000.
The Council on American Islamic Relations announcing the settlement of the lawsuit alongside mothers of a few of the boys. They'll receive $40,000 per family, plus $10,000 will go to CAIR for legal assistance.
At the beginning of that story, Jailani Hussein said that the system had failed the children.
We believe this is more than just what took place with these children. We believe this is a system that has failed and will continuously to fail other children.
Jailani Hussein highlighted this ingratitude towards America just days later when he was begging the government not to cancel the decades-old protective status program for Somalis in Minnesota.
TPS is granted to people from these countries. The program has been cut from several of the countries, and as of Thursday, Somalia is on the line. And the Council for American Islamic Relations is asking Minnesotans for help.
To remind their Congress and particularly the Department of Homeland Security to reinstate Somalia's TPS. This is a legal standing for people in the United States, for them to be here and not to be sent back into a war-torn and drought-stricken country.
It is Jailani Hussein that has failed the Somali children by showing them how to play the ghetto lottery.
We still deal with the fear and the trauma of this incident, but part of that healing process is knowing that we're getting justice.
Another example of Jailani Hussein's ingratitude and nastiness was on display during 2018's Super Eid celebration.
This call for increased law enforcement is directed more towards greater Minnesota.
The Council on American Islamic Relations is calling on police to boost security for Eid, while Jailani Hussein doesn't know of any specific threat.
And law enforcement play a key role in making sure that their presence helps do that.
While everyone else was at the party, Jailani Hussein got on KMSP to say he wanted to call the police on someone. No one knows why he said this. There were no incidents or protests at Super Eid. Even he said he did not want to scare people away. But no one asked why he did not say this in private. Why did he have this message of distrust broadcast on television during Eid? And when he got done, he went over to WCCO and had them broadcast the same message.
Our Jeff Wagner is live downtown tonight. Jeff, talk about the added security. Is it because of the sheer number of people that'll be there?
Frank, while they are expecting at least 20,000 people tomorrow, the request has more to do with concerns about hostility towards Muslims.
While Jailani Hussein is eager to criticize Catholic priests on TV, he won't admonish perennial bad neighbor Dar al-Farouk. When Dar al-Farouk was bombed in 2017, KMSP let Jailani Hussein get on the broadcast and blame the Friends of Smith Park for the bombing.
Why would they drive more than 500 miles overnight to throw a pipe bomb into a Minnesota mosque before the break of dawn? Community leaders believe they can connect the dots right back to their own neighbors.
We believe it is possible that one of our neighbors of our communities may have put the target on this mosque.
The thing is, there is nothing explicitly racist or Islamophobic about what she's written. It's mostly about parking and ordinance issues. The problem is that blog has been picked up by the alt-right media, and that is where all subtlety has gone out the window.
KMSP's Tom Lydon even went further by insinuating that the alt-right media had something to do with the bombing.
The broader question, the one more difficult to answer, is what role did any others play in fanning the flames of hate?
Jailani Hussein shows his gratitude in this Al Jazeera production, where he says that the number of people killed in America for being Muslim completely skyrocketed.
Number of people being killed who are Muslim in this country completely skyrocketed.
Not only is this not true, but he said this in 2016, which is when the Pulse nightclub shooting took place, which remains the deadliest terror attack on American soil since 9/11. Individual Muslims and terror groups are killing Americans at a record pace, not the other way around. The scandalous relationship between CAIR and local newscasters is happening all across the country. From California to
you terminate Principal or Vice Principal Gregory Calvert from his position
to Maine.
The country's largest Muslim civil rights organization is calling for the resignation of a sports official here in Maine.
And from Florida.
And that's why we are very firm in asking this elected official, Lima Taub, not only for her apologies, but for her immediate resignation.
To Minnesota.
He failed the students, he failed the community, but we also are very glad and thankful to him to recognize that at this moment he had to leave.
CAIR is using TV stations as their press agent and platform to pressure Americans out of their jobs. Last year, 2019, CAIR attacked 20 people and things on TV, usually over something as trivial as a Facebook post. And this has been going on for years. CAIR was on TV 451 times last year, and all of it was self-promotion. None of it ever concerned violent Muslims or obnoxious imams. Instead, CAIR was policing high school kids' Halloween costumes.
It was brought to our attention last week that a few York Institute students wore KKK robes on Halloween night at a Jamestown restaurant. Meanwhile, the Council on American Islamic Relations is now condemning that group of 7.
Hand gestures.
Basically, if you can make the other guy look at your hand when you're doing this, below your waist, you get to hit them in the arm. It's stupid, but hey, you get to hit people.
Whatever those young men were thinking, they ended up giving white supremacists exactly what they crave, a breakthrough moment on national television.
And Civil War memorabilia.
The National Communications Director for CAIR said, quote, symbols glorifying and honoring white supremacy, slavery, and treason should be repudiated by all Americans, not put on play at mainstream venues.
It's too bad, but what the priest said is factual. You cannot have large numbers of Muslims in your midst unless you're ready to tell them no. No to polygamy. No to honor killing. No to female genital mutilation. No to jihad. And no to using TV broadcasts to attack citizens. One need look no further for confirmation of this fact of life than the sad relationship between KMSP and the Council on American Islamic Relations.